What's going on YouTube? So the Genesis brand has been on quite a tear recently, launching 4 new products in just the last year. And that all started with this Genesis GV80. This is the brand's top-of-the-line SUV with bold design, loads of luxury, and plenty of high-tech touches. We spent the last week behind the wheel of this luxury newcomer to see just how well it stacks up against the numerous German and Japanese competitors. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the review. All right, so let's kick things off here with the exterior, because that of course is where it's going to make a strong first impression from the moment you walk up to this. So this has got Genesis' latest design language, which is very bold. I call it classy and flashy because it does have some elements that really stand out, like this large chrome grille, but it also still goes over as classy as an overall unit. So this is your signature Genesis crest grille, which has a diamond shape to it and this kind of smoked chrome finish all through here. And then of course the real eye-catching element is going to be your quad LED headlights. So this is pretty much unlike anything else on the road. You have the 2 beams with your daytime running light and turn signal indicators running through here, and you're going to see this same theme repeated all throughout the rest of the exterior. Now the lighting garners a lot of attention, but a close runner-up has got to be these wheels. So this being the fully loaded Prestige model means we're going to have the largest wheels. These are 22-inch alloys. As you can see, they're really a stunning design, which has a lot of detailing in the spokes, as you can see. Like I said, super large, and they just really stand out in contrast with the overall look of this model. Now the lower end models are going to start with 19-inch wheels, and then the advanced models will come with 20-inch alloys. Now as we were talking about with the lighting, that theme does continue. So you have this dual turn signal indicator right here on the side, and if you look at the side, you can actually see all 3 lights at the same time, which is a really cool touch. And then as far as your mirrors are concerned, these are going to be fully loaded no matter which model you choose. So you're going to have auto dimming, power folding, blind spot monitoring, and heating. Plus, we also have the Genesis projection lamp, which puts the logo on the ground at night. Now the side profile of the GV80 has got to be one of my favorite parts about it, because this looks really unlike any other vehicle on the road. Now Genesis has actually put this on its own rear drive platform, so that definitely helps the proportions, but it just is styled to the T. I mean, I absolutely love the way it looks, especially when paired with these large 22-inch rims. As far as the actual length, it's around 195 inches long, which puts it right in line with the competition. Now, the rear design. This, once again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this really looks unlike any other vehicle on the road, and we've definitely been able to tell that over the past 7 days that we've had this vehicle on loan, because it gets attention like nothing else does. So let's break down the design and what they've thrown in. It's a mix of simplistic vibes as well as just classy and elegant. So we have Genesis spelled out across the back. And then coming over to our taillights, these are going to be the quad beam LED taillights. They're going to be full LED, and they mirror what you get in the front with the headlights with this 2-part design right here. And then if we drop down below that, we have some chrome trim, and we're also going to have integrated trapezoidal exhaust pipes on every single model, and your tow rating is going to be 6,000 pounds regardless of what engine you pick. Now Genesis, unlike a lot of other German luxury brands, is actually going to throw in every single one of your safety systems. So that's going to be forward emergency braking and pedestrian detection, auto high beams, lane keeping assist, and adaptive cruise control with stop and go. Now additionally, if you get the advanced trim or higher, that will throw in rear auto braking as well. But guys, as you can tell, I am a really big fan of the way this GV80 looks. It really is a stunning SUV. But now let's go ahead and check out the inside, where I know they put a ton of luxury before we take it out in a spin. Before we do all of that, we would really appreciate it if you hit the like button, left us a comment, as well as subscribed. So approaching the GV80, you do have the brand's typical key fob and a lot of buttons here on the back. Of course, you have a standard smart entry system. We also have standard remote start right there. And you'll notice on this Prestige model, we have the smart parking system, so you can pull into and out of parking spots with this key fob. Now as we approach the vehicle, it does sense you and go ahead and fold the mirrors out, and then of course just grab behind the handle to unlock the door. But check out this cabin. This here is what everybody is talking about, because we really have an absolutely stunning cabin, especially when you choose a loaded Prestige model like we have today. Now, as with most luxury vehicles, you're going to have a wide variety of color and material options for the cabin. We're going to start out on the standard model with a leatherette seat. The advanced and the Prestige models are going to come with this real leather you see here today, and it comes in your choice of black, ultramarine, and dune, which is a really unique color combination. You can also choose beige with brown, which is what we have today, or pair this with black as well. Now, if you want the Napa leather, that's going to require upgrading to the bigger 3.5 liter twin turbo engine. Now, turning over here to your door trim, it is very nicely finished. You'll see that brown leather across pretty much every surface on here, including the armrest, above it, and along the top here with the stitching detail. Of course, we have a genuine open pore wood. We've got a nice piece of leather that comes through here with a really lovely stitching design. And you even notice these bottom plastics are padded, so that's certainly a nice touch. Up top, we got some metal speaker grills. Of course, you're gonna have standard 2-person memory seating. And then all 4 windows are gonna be one-touch auto. Panning over here to your seats. The standard model will have a 12-way power adjusting seat. This Prestige model is going to throw in 16-way power adjusting seats with this button right here. This turns on your full body massage, so that's definitely a cool feature. And then, like I was mentioning, we do have the real leather seats. I definitely love the way they design this. Really nice details in the way the perforation is. You also have color contrast piping and some different designs on the side as well. Now, like I was saying, this cabin really is phenomenal. They've paid a lot of attention to all the details and made this a world-class place to spend time. So up here on your upper dash, you do have a nice leather material. It runs all through here. The entire thing is going to be covered in this with the stitching detail. As we move down, you got that nice one-piece vent look. You've got more leather that runs all through here. Got some nice aluminum trim down this center console here. Nice leather padding all along here. Beautiful open pore wood and lots of really nice metal details. All the buttons and stuff are finished in knurled metal, including the shifter, which is made of glass. Really beautiful cabin with, like I said, lots of nice details that just give you a feeling of specialness. Now to start it up, put your foot on the brake and press the standard button. And after you fire up the vehicle, you will be greeted with this gauge cluster. So if you know anything about the GV80, you'll know this is actually the standard gauge cluster, even though this is the Prestige model. And that's because there are some equipment differences when you choose to have the 2.5 turbo engine, which is what we have today, versus the top-end 3.5 twin turbo engine. This is one of those differences. So this is going to come with the same gauge cluster as the lower-end models, which is basically a half and half analog. So that's an analog speedometer over there, but this side with the tachometer and that middle screen measures in at about 8 inches, and this is digital. As you can see, you can scroll between all the expected kinds of information, but if you want those cool 3D full digital gauges, again, you will have to choose the fully loaded 3.5 twin turbo model. Now, thankfully, that does not impact your ability to get the blind view camera system. That's on the advanced trim level and above. And then additionally, we do have a really large and really nice head-up display. This is going to be standard on the Prestige model for the 2.5T. And like I said, really a great head-up display. Lots of information, very large and very vivid. Now coming back here to the steering wheel, we have that kind of controversial Genesis design with just the 2 spokes. It is very thick when you're driving it day to day, which is very nice. Nicely padded, of course, leather wrapped. You have metal buttons on them. And the steering wheel itself is going to be power tilt and telescoping. It is also heated. Let's go ahead and take a look next at interior storage. So we'll start out underneath our center console. This is going to open in the split design, kind of like what the Germans do. And looking inside here, we do have a very generous storage area. You have this little thing here you can toss to the side. This reveals the entire storage area. It is quite deep. As you can see, we have a bunch of stuff in there. And we'll get out our big stack of coupons here. And these are going to fit in here, even with the other stuff in there. No problem whatsoever. Now moving in front of that, you've got 2 cup holders underneath of that piece of wood. You also have another storage area up here. This is your wireless phone charging pad. When you set it up against that, you also have 2 more USB ports right in there as well. And then, additionally, you have a nice pass-through as well. So you can stick any little objects there with a nice grippy rubber pad. Now, of course, the reason you have that center pass-through is because we are using an electronic shifter here. Like I mentioned, this is absolutely beautiful. It's made of glass, so it's stunning to look at and to touch. Twist over to the right for drive. You can shift manually with these paddle shifters. And then twist over the opposite direction for reverse. When you do go into reverse, you will be greeted with this very large and very vivid backup camera. Everyone who's been in this vehicle has actually complimented this on how high resolution it is. As you can see, you've got both your traditional view with the active trajectory, front and rear parking sensors, as well as this nice 360 view. Additionally though, that's not the only thing it can do. If we scroll down to this button right here and press that, we can go into this full 3-dimensional view like a drone and see the entire car, all of its surroundings, and just kind of pan around it. Very cool stuff, and very much in line with what you get from some of the most high-tech German vehicles out there. And then of course, to park, you're just going to press the P right there in the middle, and there is your brake hold. You also have an electronic parking brake as well. Now as we move above the shifter, you have this pad here. This is for the infotainment system, or you can also use it as a touch display if you prefer to do that. And then we also have some physical controls here for our audio systems. So on this model, we have a 21 speaker Lexicon Quantum Logic sound system, and we'll go ahead and give that a sample right now. Yeah, so overall sound quality of this system is absolutely phenomenal. Certainly a joy to listen to over the last week. And, you know, big props for these beautiful feeling buttons. I absolutely love them. Okay, so the next thing we should look at now will be our climate controls. So we have this nice panel of controls here. At first you may not notice some of these are physical and some of these are actually touch capacitive. So for the physical controls here, you've got your temperature controls with this nice ring, but over here you do have touch capacitive controls to do things like your fan speed, as well as adjust these zones and stuff like that. I definitely compliment this display. Very touch responsive. It also has haptic feedback, so it kind of feels like you're pressing a real button, even though you're not. Now it does have a standard dual zone automatic climate control setup. It is 3-zone automatic on this Prestige model, but even if you don't have those options, you will still have standard 3-stage heated seats as well as standard 3-stage ventilated seats. Alright, and now let's take a look up here at this very large display. So this is 14.5 inches. As you can see, it does have a narrow aspect ratio, so it goes up really across most of the dashboard and gives it a really nice look. This is going to be running the newest Genesis UX software. And we'll take a quick look around it. I will compliment it right here on this splash display though, because you basically have all the things that you really want to see really portrayed out nicely. So this is a GPS map. You have your temperature, and then this right here adapts to the weather that's going on. So certainly a really cool touch, and it looks very stylish and sophisticated. Now as we scroll on over to the other functions, you basically just have these big tiles that you can pass between. It's a pretty simple setup to get used to. Going on over to the map, this is what our built-in navigation system looks like. I'll zoom on out here. Of course, you do have both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities as well. They are the wired variety, though. They are not wireless. You can also tell that we have the split screen functionality, so you can put up different types of information here on the side than from what you have there on the main part of the display. And the last thing about this system I will mention is that it does have the passenger talk system, so it will amplify your voice via a microphone to the rear passengers. Taking a look up here at the top, we do have a frameless auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes. We've got some touch capacitive LED lighting. And then additionally, you will find your control for the panoramic sunroof. This is standard equipment. As you can see, it is the split dual panel design, and this front portion does open up.
Well guys, it's my pleasure to be in the GV80's rear seat. This is really a phenomenal place to spend time. Now let's talk about the space first. Let's get that out of the way. We have 39 inches of legroom, 38 inches of headroom, which does place it right in between that of the BMW X5 and Mercedes-Benz GLE. And behind rear seating position, I have, I would say, a solid 6 inches or so of legroom, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. Not to mention, these rear seats are just super comfortable. You can also slide and recline them. And then as far as what features you're going to have, here on the door trim, we have rear window sunshades. It's also really nicely leather wrapped even here in the rear. And then in the center, we have our standard vents on all of the models, and we're also going to have our own climate controls on this specific model. 3-stage heated rear seats are also going to be included. That's for the Prestige model only. And then if we drop down below that, we have 2 charging USBs. We also have a household style outlet. And then if we drop down the center console, we do have pop-out cup holders. Now, walking up to your tailgate on the GV80, as you can see, we do have a hands-free Power 1. That's actually going to be standard across the board, so that's certainly a really nice touch. And as far as these spaces back here, it is a lot. Let me just go ahead and tell you, when I've shown this to people this week, when I opened this up, they said, wow, that's a lot of space. We have 84 cubic feet as a maximum. Genesis actually hasn't provided the figure behind the second row, so we don't know about that, but I'd say it's probably 40-ish cubic feet. It looks like a lot. That does place it in between or actually above the BMW X5 and Mercedes GLE. I also want to mention back here that you can get a third row. Although this particular tester does not have it, you can get it on the 3.5T Advanced Plus trim. That's the only trim that's going to have it. I would like them to just throw it in standard, but you can get it if you really need that extra capability. And as far as how they finished it, we have our buttons here on the left side to fold the seats. They do fold 40-20-40 split. We also have a cargo cover, nice LED lighting. Then if we lift up the cargo floor, we have a first aid kit, and we also have a spare tire. The passenger seat will be 12-way power adjusting. Really the only thing you're missing out on from the driver's seat is the massaging abilities. And then if we open up the glove box, this is a really nice size glove box. It's really, really nicely felt lined. This is some of the nicest felt lining I've ever seen. LED illumination as well, and as far as the coupons fit in, they do fit in there just fine. So, you know, don't let this Genesis make you think that you don't need coupons. You still definitely need coupons. And then up top, we do have a large mirror. We have LED lighting as well, and we can detach the sun visor and extend it.
accelerating up with this Genesis GV80. This is the 4-cylinder model. So we do have the 2.5 turbo 4-cylinder. That is, of course, going to give you that lower price point that is certainly going to be a little bit more appealing, and you're still going to have good power numbers. So 300 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque. As you can see, really power is adequate for sure, and gets this thing moving quite quickly. I have not, in the past week, really had any complaints about this. You know, it's down exactly 75 horsepower from the 3.5 twin turbo V6, which is the other engine option. And you know, I think all in all, this definitely feels plenty adequate for this class of vehicle, and right in line with what the competition offers as a standard option.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, I think that the 300 horsepower is going to be plenty for everyone. I think the biggest difference is going to be if you want the refinement of having a V6, then you might want to opt for the higher end model, but this is not a slow option by any means. Throughout the week, if you floor her down, this thing's going to get going.
Right. Also, something that they have done is worked on the engine sound. So it does sound a little bit deeper than you might expect, and I think that helps. You can actually change how much you want the sound enhanced inside of the infotainment system. In case you're wondering, this is on slight, so it just is slightly enhancing the engine sound. Now let's talk about the other aspect of the powertrain, the transmission. So we do have an 8-speed automatic transmission on board. This is going to be on both of the engines, and you know, this is a really smooth, refined transmission. Obviously, this is a luxury SUV, so its mission is to be luxurious and smooth, and it does succeed in that mission. It seems pretty sure of itself, and it always will give you more power pretty quickly. This is the standard comfort mode we're in right now, but if you put it in the sport mode, it gets even more responsive.
Yeah, and since he was mentioning that, let's just go ahead and talk about the luxury and comfort level of this GV80. That, of course, is the mission of this vehicle, hands down, and I think it does a really, really good job with it. Since we have the Prestige, we do have the adaptive suspension control, so that kind of helps out with your ride quality. I will say, however, throughout the course of this week, we have noticed that the 22s are going to impact your ride quality just a little bit, so you can kind of feel the bumps a little bit more than what you would in a BMW X5 or something with smaller wheels. And I think if you're looking more for the comfort, you might want to opt out of getting the giant wheels, but I mean, overall, it's a really solid ride quality. The seats are really comfortable. You even have the massaging here in the driver's side, so it does its mission of being comfortable very well.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely comfort first. You know, it's not going to be super sporty, although when you do put it into sport mode, it can be, you know, a lot more interesting, which I will go ahead and put it into sport mode. When you do that, you're going to immediately notice that things are going to firm up. Like we said, we do have the adaptive suspension. So on this model, you're even tightening up the suspension when you go into sport mode, tightening up the steering, increasing the throttle response, and that certainly does help things back on a back road like this. Yeah, see what I mean? Sport mode does make a difference in this. You know, sometimes it's just made up. Sport mode, you know, just doesn't do anything, but in this case it does. It really tightens things down, so the body roll is more controlled. Like I said, the steering feels a lot crisper.
Now, I do want to go ahead and talk about your fuel economy for the GV80. If you go for the 2.5 liter turbo, like what we have with us today, it's going to be rated at 22 combined with all-wheel drive, 23 if you go for rear drive. So that's worth noting. You can't get rear drive with the 2.5 liter turbo. With the 3.5 liter twin turbo, that's going to have standard all-wheel drive, and that's going to be rated at 20. Both engines are going to use premium fuel, and that is right in line with the German rivals.
Yeah, this is certainly no slouch in the base engine. Let's go ahead and talk about today's Slam Dunk and Airball. So today for the Slam Dunk, it's gotta be this interior experience. This is just a lovely interior. All the details, like I mentioned, are just right. You know, that's really the difference between like a good luxury interior and a great luxury interior, is not just leather and stuff, but getting the details right. You know, you have stuff like this glass shifter, you've got just like nice metal finishes.
Window switches are made of metal with the etching in them.
Exactly.
Little details like that make all the difference when it comes to a luxury vehicle, and that's what the Germans really excel in. And I'm happy to see that Genesis stressed getting the details right in this model. Now, for our Airball, still going to say the same thing that we did in our previous GV80 review. The third rail. Really just wish they would throw that in on every single model of the GV80. A couple people I've shown this vehicle to actually have been interested in buying one, and a big problem for them is that the third row is only available in one trim level, and they need the third row. So I think that Genesis might be hurting themselves by not offering that third row on all of them. If you've already designed it, I just don't understand why you wouldn't throw it in. Now that we're up to speed, I will get our sound level reading. Oop. Going 55 miles an hour, we're looking at 55.6 decibels, which is a very solid rating for a luxury vehicle. With the Prestige, we do have some active noise canceling abilities. The roads are a little bit wet, so that may also have a little impact on that reading, but overall very quiet, and I've never had any very quiet, and I haven't had any issues with it this week. And let's talk about the pricing for the GV80. It's going to start at $48,900 for the 2.5 turbo rear drive, and then go all the way up to $59,150 for the 3.5 twin turbo model. This one, as equipped, a Prestige 2.5 turbo, is going to come in at $64,945 after you add in the $1,045 destination.
So after spending a week with the 2.5 turbo model, I am happy to report that this is really the full Genesis GV80 experience. Just like with the 6-cylinder model, you really still have fundamentally an extremely luxurious experience. There are a couple little features that change from the 3.5 twin turbo to the 2.5 turbo. But other than that, really, this is fundamentally the same experience, and you don't really make any sacrifices for having this turbo. It still has plenty of power, and, you know, all in all, I think that this is definitely a good choice if you're a more price-conscious buyer.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the Genesis GV80 Prestige. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, be sure to help us out by hitting that subscribe button down below. It's completely free to you. All it's going to do is give you notifications on our most recent content if you tap that notification bell, which you should definitely do. Also, leave us a like and a comment, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.